So welcome everybody to Main Look Podcast. I'm so excited about this moment. This is episode 1, show 1. I don't know, a whole lot is changing. The purpose of this podcast is just to have a unique and fresh perspective on all of the everyday stuff that we experience, all of the parenting, the shopping, the bills, the adulting that we experience, and just to have some real conversation. And I'm hoping that we can get some answers. And some stuff, you know what, we might not get some answers, but that's where Main Look come from. And I know some of y'all probably like, why Main Look? Like, what is that title? Well, I am from the illustrious Memphis, Tennessee, and that is a word that we use often, Main. And it's funny because when you meet people not from Memphis and you say it, they like, what man? Or they say man when they say it back. No, it's Main. And it ain't spelled like Main Street either. So sometimes your response is, Main Look. I ain't got no answer. I don't know. I'm just here. And so that's what this is about. So I want to give a quick testimony before I get too far into my testimony. I do want to introduce this beautiful face that you all see. Her name is Miss Michaelyn Oby. Say hey.
Hello.
She is
I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you saying yes. Okay. I've known Michaelyn for many, many years. My very first though introduction to her, she was a little video something with big old hair and a big old voice. And I never forget when our teacher, Miss Williams, we went to Colonial Middle School here in Memphis, the performing arts school, and she told us about you before you came, but we didn't.
Really?
Yeah. She was like, man, I got this girl, she gonna knock all y'all out. That's what she told us. And we was like, whatever. Man, this joker came and sang, you sang, oh, shoots. What was it? It was from The Wiz.
Oh, Home, probably.
Home. It was Home. And we were all standing there like, I quit. Quit. But I'm just so grateful. And then we went on to high school and we ended up doing a radio show together. We'll talk about that a little later. So I want to talk a little bit about this podcast and what this means to me. Like I said, we have done radio, and I did a little radio after high school, and I just could never get really into it because, you know, when you first start, Michael, and you know this, they want you to be a go person, not paid. Mm-hmm. And I had a baby my senior year of college. So I was like, I can't afford to not get paid. I need to be paid. So I couldn't really follow that dream. And so I've always talked, you know this, and conversation. And I find myself, you know, preaching and explaining, not even when people don't ask me to. And I just always had a desire to share all of this information and stuff that I know, and never really had a real platform. Well, social media came out and I tried, but I have a real problem. If everybody doing it, I don't want to do it. So pray for me. So I refused to get into the Facebook Lives and the Instagram. I was just like, it took me forever to get an Instagram. Forever. I finally got a Twitter. Don't use it. Don't like it. Can't stand it. And everybody keeps telling me, you got to get into it. You got stuff to say. And so actually this year, after all of the things that I've been through, it was Thanksgiving. I finally said, okay, let me go back. 2018, I started a company, or a ministry rather, called Seeds of Weeds. And God placed it in my heart because one day I was outside with my girls, and you know the dandelions, you pick them up, you make a wish, you blow, and you watch the seeds fly. And God spoke to me in that moment while we were outside, and he said, that is how I want my children to be. He said, you're often looked at like a weed. You know, something that's completely disregarded, like you have no value, looked over, no worth, no nothing. He said, but when somebody actually takes the time to blow on you, to pour into you, and then those seeds spread and that wisdom spreads, he said, that's what I want. And I remember sitting there outside, my girls thought I was crazy because I was like, that's bananas. I gotta write this down. And so that's how Seeds of Weeds was birthed. And so I started an online Bible class. And I wanted to do not like the traditional Bible study. You know what I mean? I don't know about how your church was. When I was coming up, Bible study, unfortunately, was just another sermon. So there really was no place to ask questions. And I'm a very inquisitive person. And I wanted to open up a platform where people could take whatever they got Sunday or Wednesday and come and we could talk about it. Just an open discussion. So when you tell me things that's in scripture, I want to know why. And I want to know the life application part. How do you apply all of this, thou, and those, and that is the King James. And so that's how that kind of happened. But life happened, right? I had to back off. I just didn't have the time. It seemed like every time I would get ready, something would happen. It just never failed. And I unfortunately, came all the way out of it. And people were messaging me and emailing me, or I run into him like, man, I missed your Bible class. When you gonna do it? When you gonna do it? And I'm looking at them like, I don't know. Because it takes time, because I like to prepare. So I got to study. I gotta meditate. We're gonna get into that. I gotta really do my research, right? And I just wasn't sure. Now, as a single mother with 2 kids, a new career, and I was at a new church, and I was leading, I just didn't see how it would happen. So now, fast forward. A lot had been going on, and I said, okay, God, I felt the urge, I gotta get back into this. But how? I was like, I do not want to do what I was doing, because I found myself preaching, because I am a preacher at heart. But I wanted to make sure that it stayed conversational. I needed to make sure, it was very, very important to me that I had opportunities coming up where I had people who would allow me to ask questions and allow me to just get with all that understanding, get a good understanding. You understand? So I wanted people to have the same opportunity I had. And that's how Main Look was birthed. I was literally listening to a YouTuber. Well, she's actually she started off on Instagram. And I was listening to her podcast. I've never really been into podcasts. Didn't quite understand them. I just, I'm come from a background of radio. So I'm like, it's a radio show. Why they keep saying, it was irritating me, to be honest. So I was like, it's radio, right? It's just not on the air, whatever. So I didn't get it. So I never really listened. I'm be honest. And so listening to her, and I was like, that's radio. I was like, I could do that. I was like, that's not hard. I was like, and to be quite honest, I would never say her name because I don't want to insult her, but I'm going to say it aloofly. I was like, I could do way better than that. I was like, I'm finna try. And that's how it was birthed, at midnight on Thanksgiving. And I reached out to my beautiful friend after some prayer, and here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, so I'm excited about it. I have no clue where this is gonna go. And I told Michaelyn before in our pre-interview that I'm just excited if I reach 1. And I've already reached her. I know. She told me.
Yes. Yes.
So if I can get another one, I've already done everything. And so that's what this is. So I mentioned meditation, right? And so meditation for me was something I was terrified of. I say that because, and it wasn't something that was outright said to me, right? But it was more so what was implied. And so, for me, initially, when I thought of meditation, I thought of yoga, right? And when you think of yoga, Hinduism, Buddhism, right? So I'm like, that ain't Jesus.
Nope.
Now, this is not going to be a whole Christian thing. I don't want this to be labeled as that. I am Christian. I profess my faith. I believe in Jesus Christ. But what I'm saying is, I don't want people to be focused on or thinking, oh, I can't listen to that because she's talking about Jesus. I will be talking about Jesus, but I want to show you why I talk about him and why he's important to me. And so that's why for me, meditation was scary. But God kept saying, meditate. And I'm like, like how? Like, what does that, like, how could God be telling me to do it if it's so bad? Right? Like, it makes sense. So I looked up meditation because I'm all about words. Okay. So meditation, according to Merriam-Webster, is this: the action or practice of meditating, a written or spoken discourse expressing considered thoughts on a subject. So some other words that are similar, you got contemplation, thought, thinking, musing, pondering, consideration, reflection, prayer. This in the dictionary. I ain't make this up. Deliberation, study, mulling over. And I said, well, that's normal. Ain't no devil in Right?
Exactly.
Okay, guys. So then when I got that, so then I had to go into, well, what does the Bible say about meditation? And just in case anybody's wondering about discourse just means a spoken communication. So that's all it is. And if you think about it, we meditate unintentionally. We mull
Yes, we
over,
do.
think, we ponder all the time. Once I have something in my heart and my mind that I want to do, right, or something, like for instance, let's talk about Main Look. When Main Look dropped in my spirit, I was at work and I was texting everybody and I was free. I literally almost had a panic attack. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm really finna do this. I'm finna do this. How I'm gonna do it? How, which way? Like how, where the logo gonna come from? What, how, I don't know nothing about podcasting. I ain't got no equipment. All of my connects have been long gone, you know? So I'm like, what am I finna do? I was meditating on it, right? That's exactly what I was doing. I was just thinking about it and mulling to the point of almost hurting myself because I was freaking myself out, the reality about it. And I had to really, really come back and say, okay, now at this point in my life, what I'm talking about, I understand meditation now, but I'm just trying to give the people an example. So you meditate on everything. You meditate about, you ponder about your bills. You think about those of us like me who's single. When am I gonna get married? Where he at? When he coming? For those of you that are men, where she at? I hope she not still in the club at 30 something. You know, I hope she done I hope she done relaxed a little bit. But my point is, listen, we do it, right? We do it all the time. And so in the Bible, I wanted to bring up a couple of people, and they're familiar people. So I'm hoping that people will be like, oh, I know about him. A good one is Isaac. This is Abraham's son. And so Isaac was his first, well, wasn't his first son, but he was the son of Abraham and Sarah. That's what I say. And Isaac was, he prayerfully considered like his life, everything. Every time God would give him something, he would go in prayer and he would meditate. And so the biggest thing about meditation, or the word, because again, remember I was talking about words I want to talk about. So the word meditation itself is not necessarily in the Bible. Now, depending on what translation you get, you might see the word meditation. But if you look at the King James, so in the Old Testament, there are two Hebrew words for meditation: Haggai in Hebrew, which means to sigh or murmur, but also means to meditate. Then Shiha in Hebrew, which means to muse and or rehearse in your mind. That's meditation. That's mind blowing. So when the Hebrew Bible translated into Greek, Haggai became the Greek malit, which emphasizes meditation's movement in the depth of one's human heart. Because when you meditate, and Michaelyn's going to explain this, it's definitely all about breathing and feeling your heart, like calming your heart down. Remember I talked about earlier how I almost had a panic attack. Well, my heart, when you have a panic attack, your heart racing. Your heart is racing. And the purpose of meditation is to calm one's heart so that you can hear and see more clearly, right? And so Malit was a reminder that one should never let meditation be a formality. So that's a huge thing for me. I tend to make everything formal. So that's why I'm trying my best with Main Look to keep it cool, keep it chill, not get all in my head. Because the reality is, when we're talking, we just did the 31-day challenge, the feelings challenge, right? And the purpose was to have an open conversation with God. And breaking the stigma that it has to be, oh, Heavenly Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Father in the name. You ain't got to do all of that all the time. You know, we want to make sure, because people, I think, don't talk to him because they feel like they got to talk like that. And so because they weren't raised in church, probably never, or let's say they did go to church, but they just went because it was a formality. It was tradition. That's what they were conditioned to do. But they never got anything from it because the preacher wasn't preaching to them. He was preaching to their mama. He was preaching to their grandmama. They didn't understand what he was saying. And all of the prayers with the big words, and they like, I don't talk like that. So it can be intimidating, right? And so that's where meditation comes in. The Latin Bible then translated Haggai and Malit into mediatio, meditation. So here we are. Ain't that interesting? So the Bible mentions meditate or meditation 23 times, 19 times in the book of Psalms alone, which one of my favorite books. If you want to meditate, YouTube, you can put that Psalms reading on and just let it minister to you, okay? Even if you don't understand, that thing gonna get in your spirit, okay? And then when the Bible mentions meditation, it often mentions the obedience of the next breath. Ain't this crazy?
This is, yeah.
And here I was like, in meditation, the devil, and I was wrong, but it goes back to that conversation and not having anybody to explain it to me, not having anybody to break it down. And to be honest, I don't even blame them, because most of them didn't have an understanding themselves. They couldn't explain something to me that they didn't understand or never took the time to research. Let's be honest. We always talking about faith, which is great. You should. We're talking about tithing, which you should. We're talking about, relationships and being obedient and being submissive. But all of the other little nuances kind of just get pushed under the rug. And that's what main look is for. So now I'm going to shut up. And I'm going to let her talk a little bit, introduce herself, introduce what she does. And then, of course, I got some questions along the way. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Ashley. First of all, you are the teacher, because I learned so much right then and there from you on meditation. And yes, I have a testimony for myself, because I've always been that type of person that meditates in the wrong direction. And I have to say that because I worry. That is my cross that I bear, and God knows that about me. Premeditated worry. I don't even have to think about it right now. It's something that could happen down the road, years later, months later, and I am already contemplating and focusing on, well, what if, what could happen, and we just came from a year where that affected a lot of us in 2020. We were all affected. The world was affected in different ways, but we were all affected. And my journey came to meditation because I was worrying. I'm a performer, and the gig industry and the musician industry, entertainment industry was hit very hard. And it's still being hit because the economy doesn't really know, well, what are we going to do with these performers? But God had deposited a word in my spirit before 2020. And it was 2019, April of 2019. He said, prepare. I didn't know what prepare was. I had just moved to Chicago from Memphis, stepping out on faith. I had a very good, consistent job performing and singing, doing my love, my passion in the cruise industry. And I was set. I knew that I was stepping out on faith. I knew that there might be some uncertainties with what's next, but I was ready. I had my foundation, I thought, and I was going to keep going. But when he deposited prepare, it was just like, okay, God, what are you about to do? Then 2020 hit. And yes, I needed to prepare. I needed to prepare in my mind, my soul, and my spirit, and really focus. And I have always meditated and focused on just my thoughts, but a little too much. Yeah. And I love how you said the formality, because worry is really meditation in the wrong direction. Because you're focusing on it. You're focusing it, like you said.
Meditation. I mean, you said worry is meditation in the wrong direction.
In the wrong direction. And that's what you're saying. It's familiar to us, meditation, even if it may be a little unsure, kind of scary to us, because we associate meditation with other religions and other practices that we may not be a part of. But you're right. God wouldn't tell us to meditate if he doesn't want us to do that. It's just how we do it. Yeah. So God has given me, and I'm not a guru, and, I don't profess to have taken on this lifestyle and be an expert and an authority, but God has been stepping with me each step of the way in my own practices of meditation and redeeming them in a way. The church can redeem things. And I say redeem because we know that Satan and the adversary didn't create anything. Come on. But he perverts things. He perverts things. And I've always known that, Yes. And so meditation, God created that.
Yes, he did.
You know, he created that. But Satan, man, has run off with it and changed it and made it go away from what it's supposed to be and what's biblical. So when I stepped out on this meditation journey, I said, well, God, what do you want me to do? You know, he said, first of all, how are you doing? I mean, it was a conversation like, how are you doing? And I was like, you know, I'm not doing so well, God. You know, I'm worrying about what's to happen, what's to come. I don't know how to control my thoughts. I thought I had to control my thoughts.
Because I want to explain people what you're talking about. So we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? Yeah. We didn't think that we would still be in it. Now, you might as well say a year later, because it started around March, really, for us. And a lot of people handled it differently. And I want to talk, because we talked about this in the pre-interview. Like for me, it didn't affect me like it did others. And I'm not saying that to brag. It's just I wasn't mentally where some were. And you were stating like this was hard for you. This was difficult. This was a space you were definitely, although, and it's so funny, God told you to prepare, and then bam, a pandemic hit. It's like, oh, this is what you're talking about. So I just wanted you to kind of touch on that, like where you were mentally at the start of this.
Yeah, at the start, I wasn't doing so well. And I started searching for meditations myself because I would get an anxiety attack. I never got an anxiety attack. As performers, we get that anxious adrenaline. And it's different because you're stepping out on stage. You don't know what could happen, but you embrace it and it's okay because the stage is familiar or what have you. And I've had my practices of slowing my heart rate down, controlling my breath. So that's kind of meditation and focusing on the good. But when this pandemic happened, my mind was so bombarded with possibilities and anxieties and fears that I didn't know what to do. So I started trying to find meditations that were Christian based because I knew, I profess Christ as well. I don't really want to do that, mantras, the Buddhism way.
Yeah.
And so there was something out there. And God said, this is what I want. I want you to try this. And if not for just you, it could reach other people.
Yeah.
But you need it first. You need to focus and give that time to me, that devotional time. Have that intentional practice of reading my word and then meditating and thinking on that and not what other things you may be thinking about, not worrying. That's the Bible.
That's Philippians. It says, and think on these things, and it lists
everything. Good, noble,
That's it.
Because we can think about the negative all day.
Exactly. And what happens when we think about the negative is that is what manifests, right? Manifestation is in the Bible. I'm not making some up. I'm not psychic. None of that. But what I'm saying is I remember being in school and teachers saying, all right, whatever you say you're going to be, that's what you're going to be. And as simple as that is, it's the truth. So if you believe that you are worried, if you believe that you're not going to have no money, if you believe that you're never going to get married, if you believe that your children never going to get it together, if you start thinking, you wake up and you say, oh, today going to be rough. Listen, there is power in our tongue. Life and death rest there. And I don't think we really realize that. And then it's connected to our thoughts, our brain and our mind and our heart. All that is connected. So whatever you think, if in the Bible clearly states, the heart, who can know it? Nobody knows it but Jesus. So all this dirty, nasty stuff, because that's how we're born. That's why we have to get born again and get saved. Anyway, all this stuff is in there. So you got all this stuff in there. And then you're speaking negativity as well. So that message is being transcended to your mind. And that is and the mind is powerful. Do you hear me? The mind and the heart. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful about what you say, because you absolutely can ruin your own day before it starts.
And it's a practice. And like I said, this is something that is going on every day for me. It's a routine. And I have to choose it intentionally. I have to wake up and say, how am I going to start and how am I going to go about my day? And so BlessFULL Meditations is what God gave me. BlessFULL. So FULL. I want to be full of
Ooh,
his
I got
word. I want
chills.
to be full of his promises. I want to be full of what he thinks and says about me, because I don't think that about myself sometimes. But I know, yeah, that's the real part. I don't think about that, and I don't think I deserve it. And I have to get past that and just seek the word. And so my meditations are basically scripture. Well, they are scripture. I haven't made affirmations from them. And a lot of the meditations I try to keep, digestible, not long passages. But I look for topics. I think about, okay, grief, gratitude, what do I want to think of? A pep talk every morning when I wake up, when I look in the mirror. What does God want to tell me that morning? How does he want me to hold my head up about the day? And so that's my whole intention. And like I said, it's a practice, and it's for me. And hopefully that, when people find it, they are benefited by it as well. And it's funny because I started off the pandemic on a Bible series of living a worry-free life. And one of the passages, it's funny passage, it's short, but it's in Luke 10, and it's Mary and Martha.
Yes.
And how Mary and Martha, you know what I'm talking about? And it's so funny because I am Martha, going around saying, hey, Jesus, don't you see what I'm trying to do?
Wait a minute, we got to tell the story. We got to tell the story because remember, everybody don't know. So Mary and Martha, the legend says that Martha worried. She was busy worrying about everything under the sun, and Mary was just at Jesus' feet like, I'm here, Jesus. What do you need? And it's so funny you bring that up because I have a good friend. I don't know if you ever seen I don't know if it's a meme, a GIF. I'm real bad with all this stuff. But the video of the two little Pomeranians, and the owner is trying to train them, and they have little buzzers in front of them. So the one girl, and you can tell it's the girl on the board. The girl, she's doing it she'll hit it, get her treat, and she's sitting calm and she waits, she'll hit. But the boy, he like he just beating it. And she sent that to me, and I couldn't help but think about Mary and Martha. I'm like, yeah, that is how you are. I'm just by nature, and it's just the way God made me, and there's no knock to anybody, but I am just kind of cool. I don't get razzle. I call it razzle dazzle. I don't get afraid too easy, or at least I don't show it. But I do tend to be calm, so that is hilarious because Martha, she was worried about everything. Do you hear me?
And I mean, understandably so. You've got Jesus in your house. But listen, what I love
the guest of all guests.
Right. She confronted him and she said, Jesus, why don't you tell Mary to help me out? Like, why is she just sitting here enjoying the fruit of my labor? I've made everything ready for you. But what does Jesus tell her? You need to be like Mary.
Ain't that crazy? Yeah. Could you imagine? But that's what we do in life. This is why meditation is so important. We do all this stuff. We do, like, I have a friend, and I'm not gonna say they ain't gonna get mad at me, but if you tell her to prepare, her mind starts racing. If God had given her the word that he gave you, she would have had a whole fit. Because prepare what? What I'm supposed to do? She would have tried to read the Bible from front to back. She would have been researching the definition of prepare and the etymology and the root word and the I'm telling you. And I'm sitting back watching her, and I'm like, that ain't how I received that. But that's why communication and relationship is important as well. But, I would have, remind her like, hey, he said prepare. Sometimes preparation is simply just sitting still and waiting.
Amen.
Which is why I love meditation, because that was hard for me. So I'm a go-getter. By nature, I'm up, I'm a mover, I'm a shaker. That's just how I am. And so when God first introduced meditation to me, the idea of sitting still with my eyes closed for anything longer than a couple of seconds is like, I know. I'm like, what? And then I get, I'm laughing at myself. I get distracted so easy. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to meditate on the word, right? Like, just like this with one eye open. I got the Bible open. I got some worship music going because I'm trying my best to get into the moment. And I start thinking about a bill that I forgot to pay. Then from there, I realized that the bill is sitting on the counter. Then I realized I ain't clean the counter. Then I go into, oh God, I still got to do the dishes too. And I'm like, did them girls clean? Like, this is what's happening. So meditation for me was a struggle. Do you hear me? It was, and I'm gonna be honest, because this main look, it still isn't 100. Okay, but I'm doing better. Like you said, it's a choice. And my mantra, my slogan for Seeds of Weeds is happiness is a choice. You remember for a second, everybody was doing the ISSA, the ISSA. It's the now they say it's the something for me. It's the this for me. Oh God, it grinds my gears. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. My point is, I would say happiness is a choice, because it is. You have to wake up and choose to be happy. Just like you got to say, I refuse to be anxious. I think we've seen more cases, and I lost the number. I got papers, but I lost it. More cases of anxiety than we've ever seen with COVID. Understandably, because people don't know what's next. Literally, right. They don't know where the next meal coming from. They don't know where the next check coming from. They don't know if that light's gonna be on. And if that's not their worry, they're wondering, if I send my kids to school, should I leave them at home? Can I leave? You know, there's just all these worries. And what's bananas is he has so many people just jumping out and doing crazy stuff in the middle of a pandemic. He got people leaving their jobs. He got people starting businesses. He got people leaving the country, you know, all this stuff. And people are really like anxious, understandably. And so I thought that this just made sense for this to be the first one to introduce that there is a way. There is a way to do it practically with the help of God, you know, introducing him into the conversation where you can relax and just chill out.
And he wants you to. He wants to carry your burdens. He wants to carry your anxieties, your worries, your troubles. And, you know, it's a discipline, like you said. It's a discipline, and it's intentional, and you're leaning into him, into his connection, his intimacy, a relationship with him. And meditation is focusing your mind and your heart on him. And the word of God right there. Everything we need is right there. Every topic, every condition, every human construct, you know, it's not new. Nothing's new. Somebody dealt with it in the Bible.
Listen, and I think part of the problem is our introduction, like we talked about earlier, people's introduction to God and introduction to the word, whether for most people it was forced. They didn't really have a choice. Let's be honest. You know, that's how, and I think there's an aspect of that in our religion. Whatever home you grew up in, that's what you're going to be introduced to. But after that, you have a choice to continue. Well, unfortunately, where we lack, and I say we as Christians, as far as making sure we bridge the gap. So when new saints come in, when new babies come in, no matter what the age, that we're making sure they understand the why behind what we do. The why church is important. The why I love God the way I do. The why am I on the floor crying? Why do I shout? Everybody don't do that. Why do I choose to get up every morning and read my Bible? Why do I meditate? Why do I ask him? You know, why do we do that? And I think that doesn't happen. Matter of fact, not I think, I know. Because for me, who's someone who I consider myself to be a student, I will forever be a student. So I'm always researching and studying. Everybody doesn't have that drive, right? So if it's not presented to them, they're not going to go and look for it on their own. And so we have to do a better job. That's what Main Look, that's what BlessFULL is. That's what this is, to present it to them to say, hey, this is possible. It ain't magic. It ain't crazy. It ain't what you're thinking. I don't know how you were introduced, but let me show you what he did for me, for real. Okay. And how it's working. And I can testify, and I know you can, meditation has absolutely been a saving grace. It was a key component that I didn't even know I need. Like I had no clue that I needed to meditate. And you mentioned intimacy. We don't understand that. Hence the divorce rate. Hello. Hence we are in the state we're in. We don't understand what it means to be intimate. And I remember when I started really recognizing my journey to marriage and preparing, God was preparing me. The very first topic he wanted to talk about was intimacy. And I was like, ew. and I'm being honest, because when I think, and I'm not the only one back then, when I used to think of intimacy, being intimate, I thought of sex. Okay.
Right.
So to have God say to me, I want to be intimate, I was like, this is the devil talking.
What is it?
This is not God. And he said, you crazy, you're silly. He know his child. And so he took me on a journey to understanding that true intimacy is being vulnerable. So he said, his exact words to me, I'll never forget. And this might be a little bit for some people, but that's all right. They're going to get there. He said, I need you spiritually naked before me. Think about it. When you're naked before your spouse, some of us have with this ring is on the other thing on this thing. When you're naked, period, just for yourself, you that's your most vulnerable state. You can see every flaw, you can see every dimple, everything. Like it's out there. There's no hiding it. And so God was saying spiritually, meaning stop trying to hide stuff from me that I created. Talk to me about it. Like he wants so badly to just hear it from us. And I remember somebody saying to me, well, don't he know it all? Why should I tell him? I said, great point. He does. I said, but think about this. Have you ever been in a relationship, or if you have children, I use my kids all the time, and you ask them to do something, right? Versus when they bring it on their own. You ever had somebody bring you flowers and you like, oh my God, thank you. Like you did that on your own. I didn't have to tell. It's different. If I have to tell you to do it, it don't mean as much.
That's right.
But if you do it on your own, it means so much more. So yes, he knows all of our thoughts. Yes, he knows everything. Yes, he's made these big plans. Yes, but he wants you to want to do it. He wants you to want to talk to him.
And the recognition, your own self-recognition. Sometimes we have to say it and pinpoint it for us to even know that's how we feel, for ourselves. God knows, but I may think I'm not anxious, I'm not fearful, but my actions say differently. But because I say, oh, yeah, I'm a little anxious right now.
That was me. I used to be like, I don't have anxiety. I don't deal with that. My daughter got diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome. And through doing the research and figuring this out and trying to help her, be a good mom, I found out that this is something that's hereditary. So when she said that, I'm looking at, now, you know me, Michael, I'm real sassy. I said, ma'am, you can't see me, I'm crossing my neck. I said, ma'am, ain't nobody got no anxiety over here. What you talking about? I said, and I'm real crazy. I'm real crazy because I told this lady, this professional doctor, she was a doctor. She has a doctorate in psychology. And I told this lady who was Caucasian, that's a white people problem.
You just said what we all think.
Listen, I don't got no shame. I need to have a filter. I said that ain't what we don't do that. She said, thank God that she had a sense of humor and didn't get offended. Right. She said, baby, I hate to tell you that anxiety does not care what color you are. And I had to take a look at myself and my mom and my family and really start looking. She started teaching me about what it looks like, because it can come in many forms. Tourette's just happened to be one of them. And I was like, yo, we do deal with it. And we're not the only ones. And so meditation and God has really, really helped to be able to minimize some of those attacks I was having when I didn't know I was having them. Some of those worrying. And I have friends that I know who had heart attacks, and we're not that old. We're in our 30s. That's ridiculous. And it's all stemming from worry. And so it's super important that we take a moment to sit down and shut up. Be quiet. A lot of times we don't like to be quiet because we don't want to be settled. We don't want to be alone with our thoughts. We don't want to be alone with our feelings, because then if I got to sit and be still, I got to really face what's really happening. That's why you see a lot of people moving. They moving and ain't doing nothing. I talk about New York. No offense to anybody from New York that might listen to this, but it's not one of my favorite places because I feel like it's just fast. I like the country, okay? But I remember visiting one time and the lady saying, girl, this is a white lady. She said, they just be going and ain't going nowhere. And I was like, yes. That is exactly. But that, not just New York, that's how we are in life. We just moving and ain't going anywhere any quicker, any faster or with any good quality. And so meditation makes you sit down. It forces you to look at yourself. Those first, I don't know about you, Michaelyn, which your meditations are amazing, by the way. But the first few times I did it, like before I found yours, the first few times I did it, it brought up so much that I had no clue was in there. There was a lot of things that I realized, like, man, I swept this under a rug. I hadn't dealt with. There was things, I'll use one, I don't mind being transparent. I had not forgiven the father of my child. I hadn't forgiven him. I thought I did, but what it was out of sight, out of mind. That's not forgiveness. So just because I didn't have to see him and I didn't have to deal with it face to face every day, and I was like, oh, I'm over it. But the second he called, girl, you would have thought we broke up yesterday. And that was because I had not. So meditation allowed me to work through those feelings. I didn't do it alone. It was God talk. It was a conversation with him and him helping me to break down whatever it was that I was feeling or not feeling towards, that individual. And not just him, just within ourselves. They always say, if you want to fix something about you, you got to do the work. And the first step to fixing it is acknowledging that there is something going on. Like you said, it makes you acknowledge it. It makes you look at you, like, for real.
And haven't we had a whole year of that? I believe that God, if we really look at the writing on the wall, God wanted the world on pause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for us as believers, if we leaned in during this time and really let him and been vulnerable with him and let him do the work in us, we could be on a whole nother level. And that's what I'm professing. I don't know what's to come, but God gives us the tools. And I believe that meditation is one of those, and we can take it back. The church can take it back if we have very direct intention and not be afraid of it. Because, no other religion created this. It's in the Bible. You said it's in the Psalms. David lamented. He laid it all out for God.
All of it.
He didn't hide anything. Yeah, Joshua did too.
Yeah, it's all throughout the Bible. But I think this is going to introduce a new perspective because, like I said, I'm big on life application. So we hear this stuff, but where, like, and no one says it. So now meditation is in there. Look up Joshua, look up David, look up Isaac, and there's so many more. Well, listen, this has been amazing.
Yes, it has. I mean, just powwowing with my old girlfriend.
Let's tell the people real quick. So we went to Overton High School, Watkins Overton. I never say that, but Overton High School in Memphis, which is the Creative and Performing Arts School of Memphis, Tennessee. And we were the first group to be at the Telecommunications Center, and we had a radio show, y'all. And it was called the Soul. And man, we used to have so much fun, Michaelyn, didn't it? Like,
yes. And you know what? I had a surprise for you, but I can't share it because you're the businesswoman. You made sure everything was situated. But I found one of our cassette tapes of us speaking, in high school, and it brought so many memories because who put us on radio? Who did that? Who let us? But it Mr. just shows, well, you know what? God instills in us, and we never know what he is putting inside of us and what will come of that. And you have always been so comfortable just being a leader and helping people. And I used to go to you, and because you're so transparent, because you're so accessible, it doesn't surprise me that this is your next step in life because you have many callings, but it was so easy to talk to you all the time. Nothing surprises you. Nothing catches you off guard. And so I am so excited for what God is doing right now in this chapter in your life. And I hope that with your launch, this is the beginning of Main Look, and who knows where this leads.
Listen. So. Well, thank you. Look, I'm trying my best. I'm over here. I'm trying to blink up so I don't cry. I'm so grateful. For many, many years, I didn't want to accept, or it's crazy, but man, acknowledge what was inside of me, because I didn't want people to think I thought I was better, or because that's some of the things I heard. And it wasn't that. It's just, like you said, it's a gifting from God. And I know better now. And so I'm just grateful that you said yes to today, because I was and not that I thought you were gonna say no, but I know you're a busy woman. So I was just like, listen, Michaelyn be gone somewhere. She be traveling and singing, and I'm like, I just hope she got time. So you're right, it's come full circle, and I'm excited about the future of Main Look. I'm definitely gonna bring you back on. Maybe we'll do a session, that'd be cool. And I want to do a couple of lives, but this is amazing. I'm so excited, and I just appreciate you. Tell everybody where to find you. Where you are.
Yes, it's BlessFULL, BlessFULL Meditations. I'm on Spotify and Instagram, and hopefully, we'll go into Apple Music and all that. But Spotify exclusively right now.
Okay.
And so just go on, listen, and take that time, your devotion time every day, and just go to God in prayer and meditation. Starting off that way.
Well, thank you. Y'all heard it. Y'all go follow her, blow her up. Let's get her numbers up. Amen. Y'all can also follow me at manelookpodcast on Instagram. We'll also be on Spotify too. This is the launch. I'm so excited. It'll also be available on YouTube and Facebook. So I'm super excited. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And thank you for all of you new listeners and old listeners and future listeners. And I just hope that this bless you. And I look forward to many